Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of 10 for the Chairman. For those of you who don't know, who haven't seen this before, this is where I take 10 questions from the subscribers in our community and answer them to the best of my ability. The subscribers are the subgroup of the overall community that's back the game that contribute extra money every month to allow us to do a enhanced level of community content, this show, Around the Verse, other things like Jump Point, which is a very in-depth magazine that we publish monthly that has between 50 and 70 pages of in-depth behind-the-scenes material of how we're building ships, how we're designing systems, has some fiction, has some other stuff, and just also general other pieces. So we do sort of behind CryEngine video pieces to show various areas of development, and all of that's sort of financed by the subscribers. So thank you very much for that. This week's a fairly busy week for us, so I'm going to be bare bones here on 10 for the Chairman. We have CitizenCon coming up this Friday, which we'll be live streaming to everybody, and we've got some cool stuff to show. So and have a bit of a retrospective of the year. So hopefully everyone will like that. And then also later this month we've got the PAX Australia first-person shooter demo, so we're also busily working on that. So pretty much everyone at all the studios are head down, working on stuff to push the game forward and show you guys. We've made some pretty huge milestones recently. We hit 55 million just a few days ago. So thank you all for that. It's a great ride that isn't hopefully going to stop anytime soon. So let me get to the questions and we'll go from there. Okay, first question comes from Marley, who asks, while piloting within a star system, how will we know our bearing? Aside from the star map and fast travel mechanics, will there be a galactic compass, a grid system, or possibly an XYZ coordinate system to help navigate and identify direction? Well, I mean, you're definitely going to have sort of your navigation star map, which you'll be able to pull up in pretty much any of your ships and be able to sort of lay your waypoint that you'll fly towards. It will have some predetermined navigation points on it, and then there will be most likely a sort of a grid location. I mean, internally in the engine we have XYZ, and so I'm guessing that we'll have something that will be along XY and Z in terms of the coordinate systems inside the systems. We're still sort of playing with the possibility of actually having a dynamic, all the star systems being dynamic, so that means that there would be slow orbits for the various planets. So so then you always get this issue of like, well, is the grid system fixed relative to the center of the system of the star, or is it fixed to one of the rotating planets? But I think we'll probably, for ease of use, go with a sort of a version of XYZ, whether we actually call it XYZ, that would be based around the center of the system, which is where the star would be for the system, or the stars, and then everything be relative to that, and we would kind of go from there. So, but your nav map would be where you would sort of look to see how that happens. But as I said, we're still in the development stages of that, because originally we were planning to have sort of static systems, but with the new large world system that we're going for, and the fact that we're essentially making every sort of like planet or moon or any of that stuff will be its own sort of anchor point and sort of encounter space, and it's sort of defined by its position, but its position can move around and then things move relative with it. We sort of have some more options, so that's sort of the stuff that we're fleshing out right now, and Tony Zurovec and his team in Austin on the Pacific Universe are actually like deep in that kind of stuff right now. Okay, next question comes from Hellcat, who asks, with salvaging, if we find a military ship, is it possible to salvage it without getting into hot water with the UEE? Yeah, no, I definitely think so. I mean, if there's a destroyed or abandoned military ship out there, then I don't think there'll be any issue with you salvaging it, splitting out, weapons that haven't been destroyed enough that you can't resell them, so that'd be kind of cool, and just taking the various scrap and compacting it and selling it. Okay, next question comes from the Tick, who asks, while on a mission, would another player be able to complete, hijack, or perhaps destroy your objective? Suppose you are sent to pick up a particular object, but when you arrive at the destination, you discover that it's gone. Well, that's a good question. So I think that would depend on the kind of mission. So we've sort of been, and this is again speaking of Pacific Universe and Tony Zurovec, this is sort of the stuff that me and Tony have been going back and forth about. But there are probably two kinds of missions. One, there will be certain ones that would be what we would call persistent and would have sort of a unique identity. So like if you're going to kill a pirate lord, well, there's only one, that one pirate lord, it just exists in one place, and only one player or group of players basically, but you'll only get to kill him once. You won't be able to kill him in 10 different instances. But there will definitely be some cases where we'll have some missions or action that will be more specific to you as a player, and in those cases it would be instant. So like an idea would be you've got to I don't know, fix this is a bad example, but fix a navigation satellite, and perhaps that's a mission that 20 people get because it's a sort of more generic mission going to do something. Well, the place where the navigation satellite is, when you enter it as a player, that particular area itself would be instanced just for you, and there would probably be NPCs that would be there that could, say, attack you or whatever, like pirates or something, but you getting to fix that navigation satellite, since you took that mission, which is an instance mission, would be just about you. So we'll sort of have both in the world. It would sort of depend on what they are. So the more sort of generic ones would be sort of more instance to allow you to go do stuff, whereas the ones that are sort of more high profile, as in like taking out a big boss or something like that, that would be persistent and wouldn't be instance, and only one person would get to do that. So I hope that answers the question there. All right, Moose asks, thanks for greenlighting the Surveyor Reclaimer Salvage mechanic. What mission types are you thinking might be in the game for salvagers? Certainly, I definitely think it's a good sort of resource mining mechanic, as opposed to just the straight mining, going to the asteroid fields and going after resource seams and gathering that. Then this is another way to go and take the remainants of big space battle and then repurpose it into more raw material that can go back into the economy and the manufacturing cycle. So that's definitely a large part of it. The other area is sort of stripping functioning weapons off damaged ships. So you can have a ship that's blown up or destroyed, but there could be a weapon, a Gatling gun, or whatever it would be that's still quite fine. So part of the salvage mechanic is going in there, determining what parts are still useful and can be stripped out, and you strip those out separately and store those in a separate hold from the other just sort of debris bits that you're going to compact and compress. I would say that those are kind of the sort of stuff. I mean, we're also thinking about doing some more sort of repair style mechanics where you can sort of patch up and fix up ships. So we're thinking about potentially doing a specialist ship for that kind of stuff. But I think the salvage mechanic will actually be a pretty interesting mechanic. So if you go to a battle, I mean, maybe I could definitely see an organization has its sort of frontline guys that go there, and there's a big fight, and behind it, you've got some people like they're coming with the Starfarer or a ship to sort of rearm or refuel people, plus someone swoops in to sort of scoop up all the damaged material or reclaim any undamaged weapons and go back and sort of basically not leave money on the table, so to speak. Scurry Panda asks, if an Aurora player heads on a collision course with my big expensive ship full of precious cargo on a suicide run but doesn't arm weapons, am I allowed to shoot him to protect my ship, or will I be automatically marked a criminal since I'll technically be shooting first? No, I think in that particular case, we would determine whether the ship was on a collision course or trying to ram you. And then if you shot him so he wouldn't ram you, then it would be okay. It wouldn't be you shooting first. Of course, you couldn't be heading towards him and saying he was going to ram me, but we'll try to sort that out as best as we can in the sort of algorithm that determines whether you were an aggressor or not an aggressor. But definitely we'll take into the fact people trying to ram you. Next question comes from GhostStorm11, who asks, will we be able to rent specific items and ship upgrades in-game based on a credit system? For instance, if I am in good standing with the UEE and the banks, I could go down to a special equipment warehouse and rent a mission-specific item, like a high-end telescope camera for an intelligence gathering mission. I think that's a good idea. I mean, we've definitely talked about the ability to allow players to sort of loan out or rent their ships to other players, and there would probably be an equal mechanic where you potentially could rent ships in the game. We haven't specifically talked about that in terms of items, but in general, I don't see why it wouldn't be part of potentially the same sort of loaning or renting mechanic. Hard to say right away whether it's going to be in the sort of version 1.0, because obviously we've got a lot of stuff to do, and so you kind of want to get the bases working. But I think long term, we're definitely going to have the equivalent of like you'll be able to get bank loans, and you'll be able to sort of lease equipment or lease or rent ships, just like you can buy them and purchase them. So that would be sort of the longer term plan in the universe. Okay. So answer, I guess, would be maybe not right at the beginning, but longer term, probably yes. All right, next question comes from Colonel Shaggy, who asks, how will the cost of insurance scale in relation to ships? Will an M50 cost more to insure than, say, a Constellation because the M50 is designed for a much more dangerous usage, i.e. racing versus cargo hauling? Or will it be based on size or ship price? First of all the ships come with insurance, right? So it's not like you don't have insurance. It's just if you have the standard hull insurance, you have to sort of re-up, carry the policy on versus have it forever in the case of LTI. And I guess maybe if you obtain a ship, perhaps you have to get insurance for it. If you didn't sort of buy it with its insurance, like you found a derelict or something like that. But I think the sort of cost of the insurance would be kind of factored the way the real world works it, which is obviously some component is the actual cost of replacement, some component is the age, which kind of factors into the cost of replacement, and then also some component factors in based on the sort of role of the ship, or the likeliness of it to get into accidents. So like in the real world, if you drive a sports car, they generally cost a little more to insure than, say, a family wagon or a caravan, because obviously people in sports cars drive faster and maybe potentially get into more accidents. So I think that's kind of how it will get done. So we haven't figured out 100% exactly what the mechanic is in terms of what the sort of re-up cost of the cost of maintaining your insurance is, but we definitely want to make it so it's affordable, and in relation to sort of what you earn. So, obviously, if you have a bigger ship, it's going to cost more to sort of re-up it. But then again, on a bigger ship, you should be able to carry more cargo and make more money, etc., etc. Okay, next question comes from General Jack O'Neill, who asks, within Star Citizen, there are a variety of water planets and various systems. Will there be underwater worlds with cities, communities, and unique opportunities? Perhaps ones that can be visited with special ships that can land in water, or unique submersible craft that can be dropped out of a bay. There will definitely be sort of water-style planets. I don't think there's going to be underwater worlds and cities day one, but super cool idea. Wouldn't actually be that difficult to implement to a certain level, just because the engine sort of does handle. I mean, there's a really quite decent swimming and water system already in CryEngine. It's more a matter of sort of resources and production time. So I would say this is the kind of thing that down the road, once the game's out and we start adding more and more content, this will be one of the areas that we could add something that would make it sort of different and interesting. And I guess with the upcoming Avatar movies, it would be pertinent because they're sort of focusing in the oceans in those ones. Anyway, there you go. Next question comes from CryEngine, spelled SCRYMGEOUR. So I hope I pronounced that right. In the persistent universe, will it be possible to stay anonymous? Think of Transporter going into a bar, meet the customer, getting paid in cash, and doing a job for him without him knowing who I am. Well, I think we'll definitely have the ability for you to take some anonymous style work in the persistent universe, sort of depending on what's happening. We've already talked about having sort of kind of an ID tag for your ship, and kind of like a vehicle VIN number, but then maybe you could sort of jam the broadcast of that so your ID would not be necessarily visible to other people depending on the equipment you have. So I do think there would potentially be the opportunity to do some sort of anonymous style missions in the case of sort of more sort of slightly grayer missions, let's put it that way. But it's still early days, so figuring out sort of the character system and kind of like all the rest of it in terms of like your handle and name and how you're getting the missions, that's all still in the process. So that would be something that would probably be folded into what we're trying to do. Because I think long term it would be quite interesting to have a little bit of that. So we'll see. But I don't have a great answer for it right now because a lot of that stuff's still in just the basic stages of getting it working, and then you start to layer on sort of the more nuances like that. Okay, last question comes from Matt Behavior, who asks, will we be able to revive players that died? For example, 5 or 10 minutes ago, and we are near with our hospital ship to apply first aid from permanent death. The idea with sort of like a med bay and a few other things is that, like for instance in the first person combat stuff, which we're going to get into at the end of this month, like part of the mechanic, because we don't have a respawn mechanic like you would normally do in a first-person shooter or even out in space, right? So in the persistent universe, if you die, you're going to essentially sort of get recovered out in space and end up getting essentially respawned back on the nearest friendly planet, which is sort of the idea is your sort of almost lifeless body was recovered, you were getting taken down to a med bay on that planet, and they sort of revived you. Think Luke Skywalker in the big sort of med tank in the Empire Strikes Back, and now you're slightly worse for wear. Maybe you've got a scar, maybe you've got a cybernetic implant, but that's one of your lives are burned and you're walking around. So we don't have sort of this instant respawn mechanic that you get in most sort of FPS games. And the same obviously the same is true when we're like doing shipboarding or combat. Is you can't just sort of Counter-Strike style fire, dive, start game, Team Fortress style, all that sort of stuff. So our combat's sort of obviously going to be more more tactical, and will involve more sort of you getting incapacitated to hit. Now, of course, this is the future, so obviously the ability for you to patch someone up is probably a bit easier than maybe it is in today's world. So we have a sort of mechanic that you'll be able to sort of, you're injured, someone gets shot, taken down, and then within a certain amount of time they're going to bleed out. So if you get to them before that and pull them back and patch them up, then you can go back out there. It's sort of like saving the life, so to speak. And there's a certain level of bleed out or damage that can get fixed by med packs, but then if you have a med bay, you could do more. A hospital ship potentially could do more. So like one of the whole ideas that we're going to have in sort of the boarding missions is, if it goes really badly, you want to recover your friends, get them back on your ship, and get them within a period of time to a facility that will patch them up so they won't actually lose a life in the sort of whole death of a spaceman mechanic. So that's where the sort of medical and science ships will be coming in. So we have a whole drag mechanic for FPS and stuff like that. So it should be pretty cool. And so that would be a good reason to have flying around with a hospital ship to basically be able to patch up people in a closer proximity than be able to have to take them to the nearest sort of hospital on a planet. So I think that answers your question. So there you go. Those are the 10 questions for this week. As I said, this week's a pretty busy week because we have CitizenCon coming up on Friday, and a few weeks later we're going to be heading off and going to Australia, which will be a lot of fun for PAX Australia, and there we'll be showing the first preview of the first person shooting stuff, and we're going to be showing some stuff at CitizenCon this Friday. So I'm looking forward very much to meeting the people that will be there in person, and also live streaming and broadcasting to everyone, the second year anniversary of us launching the crowdfunding for Star Citizen. And thank you all so much for supporting the game. We wouldn't be here today making this game at this scale, at this level of ambition without your guys' support. It's amazing. I mean, we're getting to make a game that has literally a level of ambition I think is unmatched by pretty much any other game out there, and it's only because you guys out there have supported us to do that to a level that I think no publisher ever would. So thank you all, and I will see you this Friday. Bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching 10 for the Chairman. If you guys would like to see more episodes, go here. If you guys would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel and always keep up to date with all our video content, go here. And if you guys would like to watch episodes of Around the Verse, go here please. And I will see you in the verse.